Hello there, folks. For you that reached here, this is a home brewing channel from Brazil. My name is Carlos Frederico. I am a chemist and a home brewer by hobby, chemist by job, and home brewer by hobby. Well, I'm certain you all have reached a fermentation step after you did your mash, did your boil, you finally moved your wort into the fermenter and then pitched yeast in and you let it ferment, and hopefully, if the gods help, we'll come up with a good beer. But as you start fermenting, there is an issue, or actually a couple issues. First is I'd like to know when my fermentation ends. That's one. And second, I would like to somehow have some number or some feeling about the alcohol content in my beer. Is it too low? It's a light beer. Is it too high? A strong beer? Well, first issue, how do I know if my fermentation kicked in or stopped already? Well, most of the answers for that rely on sight, what you see. That would be bubbles in the airlock or chunks, floating material in your fermenter. I have a problem with that because I'm not sure if it happened with you, but I had already several fermentations where I could actually see the fermentation going on, chunks moving up and down the wort, but no bubbles in the airlock. So I suppose there was a leakage of the produced CO2 from a fermenter, or there was a lot of head space and pressure was not enough to build up to make actual bubbles. Or we can also use here in Brazil one little guy named Sterilock. That's a filter, a bacterial filter which can leak out gas but won't allow bacteria to contaminate, to move into your fermenter. This Sterilock, it doesn't have a liquid seal, so you won't see any bubbles at all. And okay, the chunks, floating material, fermenter, it's a nice sign of fermentation. When it stops, it all falls down into the bottom of the fermenter, and it's okay, your fermentation most likely stopped. But if you have, for instance, a stainless fermenter or a plastic one, but in a darker kind, the darker color, so you may not be able to actually see through it and have a look inside to see the chunks floating. So sight is always an issue. And the second thing is I want to know the content of alcohol in my beer. I want to know the ABV, alcohol by volume, percentage of alcohol in my beer. For that, we have two devices in home brewing that we can use. One is a hydrometer, and the second one it's a refractometer. The refractometer, yes, I know there are several issues. It only works for water solutions, aqueous solutions. When there is alcohol in it, it won't be giving you a nice reading, a good proper reading. And also, if you have any floating material, it will be unfocused and you can actually see quite well the dividing lines, so you can get a precise measure. So I know refractometers are quite problematic, but they are nice little gadget which use a few drops of your wool or beer to measure, so you can have a lot of measurements daily if you wish to follow your fermentation. And when it reaches the end, the readings will stabilize. You can have 2 or 3 readings. If it doesn't change in 2 or 3 days, then your fermentation has stopped and it's okay. You can keg or bottle it, whatever you do. But also, I like the hydrometer. It gives me a nice feeling, and I can take 2 measures. That's one that's OG, the original gravity, and the second measure is the FG, final gravity. These both are readings of the specific gravity or density of my wort or of my beer, and those 2 numbers we can use it to calculate ABV or alcohol content. I'll not enter into this matter here, and what I want to do is show you guys, or rather present it to you, an easy way for you to, let's say, know ahead of time when your fermentation will stop, or at least most likely the reading that it will stop. After the boiling step, after adding hops, whirlpool, and letting the cold trub, the whole hot trub fall down, you transfer your beer to a fermenter. Before you add yeast, you take a sample, I take a sample of it, and place it into a provit. A provit, it's a conical flask, a tall conical flask. Usually it has like 250 milliliters of volume. And there you place inside your hydrometer. You can see lots and lots of videos in YouTube showing how to do it, how to measure your OG. That's great. So you have your OG. You can now calculate your efficiency in the mash. You can have if your beer will be high content or low content in alcohol. But at the same time, many people are just move it back into the fermenter, this 250 ml. Although I would rather not advise you to do so, as you can contaminate your wort. So it's most likely you have a batch of 20, 30, 50 liters, and for this 250 millimeters you can contaminate your whole batch of 50 liters. So I'd not advise you to throw it back into the fermenter. So what you do, throw it away? Yes, I did that a lot. But I finally came out in a video where a guy had a nice idea. The same sample where he took the reading for the OG, in the same provette, he will place the pitch in the yeast into the fermenter, and a little bit of that yeast you place into the provette, seal it with a plastic film, for instance, and keep it in a fresh, cool, and safe place for 1 or 2 days at room temperature. So this will be like a fermentation of your wort, but in a much higher temperature. At least in Brazil, it will be much higher. If you are doing like 18, 16, 17 C for an ale into your fridge, outside at room temperature, it will be like 25, 28, 30, 32 C. So this fermentation will proceed at much quicker pace than the one in the fermenter. So in a couple of days, most likely your fermentation outside, your fermentation at room temperature, will have finished, and then you can just pull out the plastic seal or not. That depends if you have enough headspace. I don't, I really fill it up, you see. But when as this fermentation ends and the yeast falls down, you will be able to have an FG reading, a final gravity reading. So you have the original gravity, which you took at first place. Then you pitch in a bit of yeast, allow the fermentation to complete in a couple of days, and then you measure the FG. And with that you can first estimate the alcohol by volume content in your beer, how much it will be. You can have an idea. Second, you have an estimate of your final gravity, and with that you can also estimate when your beer will end its fermentation. So if your FG reads, I don't know, 1010, so that's most likely what will happen in your fermenter in the fridge. If it goes like 1008 or 1012, I don't know, but whatever is your reading outside, most likely it will be the same inside your fridge. So with that you can estimate or have an idea of what will be the value of your FG, and at that point your fermentation will have reached its end. At the same time, I advise you to keep, after the fermentation stops, let the beer in contact with the yeast for still 1 or 2 days, as it will clean and the yeast will most likely get rid of any unusual of flavors, some of them at least. So I'll show you here how I did it. It's quite simple. Here is my Provet. I had a reading of my OG. Inside I have my hydrometer, and when I was pitching in the yeast in my fermenter, I just took a small bit of yeast and pitch in here, seal it with a plastic film, and maybe you can see it, there is already a cross here on top. That was yesterday, so this has like, I don't know, 12 hours of fermentation, and I can see lots and lots of gas bubbles moving up, of course, as there is a cross, and the fermentation is continuing, but most likely today at night or tomorrow top it will end. Then I will pull out this plastic film and take a reading of my FG, and with that I will know when my fermentation is done, and also I will have an idea of the alcohol by volume content. That's beer. If you want, you can drink it. I would not advise it, as it's not temperature controlled, so most likely to have some of flavors in it, but Even so, you can use it. Not like I would advise, but well, most likely you can try have a sip and at least have an idea of the taste of your beer. Well, folks, I think that's it. I would like you to give a thumbs up if this content helped you anyway. If you have any questions, any issues, any comments, let me know. Just write it down and we will get back at you. We are in the major social media, and also we will have a podcast version of this video where I will extract the audio and just upload the audio feed. That's it. I hope you enjoyed, have fun, make some great beers, and see you around. Take care.